What's going on, guys? This is Almost Expert Wrestling, and we're coming to you with a very special video. I mean, all of ours are special, but this one's really important special because we're doing our top 10 WWE superstars so far. I know it's kind of later in the year, it's September, just over the halfway mark of the year, but we're going to give you our picks, like I said, so far this year. Top 10 WWE superstars so far. So let's get this started because this has the potential to be a long video, but do not go away because we will keep you entertained. Are you not entertained? Go ahead, Kyle, and start this one off with number 10.
Yep, I will. And real quick, just to say, this top 10 list was put together by me and Joe personally. We are not taking this information from any websites or nothing. Nobody posted this top 10 list, and we're using it. We came up with this top 10 list just now, actually, just on the spot. We had both done top 10 lists and compared them and seen what we got. This top 10 list is basically based solely on in-ring performance, championship reigns, overall crowd reaction, overall work rate, and just how over they are as a superstar, how good they wrestle. Stuff, basically all that stuff I just said. And so let's get right into it. Number 10 is a guy that is very, very well known for how well he works. Although he has not had a year full of big victories, he is still having a year to remember when it comes to not only singles competition, but also a very, very heavy tag team competition in the year. And you guessed it, Joe, it's one of his favorites, and my favorites as well, Cesaro. Now, Cesaro got into the top 10 list by us. This was a tough one for me to put him in. I put him number 10. Joe might have put him a little higher than I did, but for him, I had him number 10, and we agreed to have him with number 10. And really, the basic reason he's on this list for is because of his work rate. There's nothing else that we can really say. He works great. He always is competing. He had a really, really long tag team title reign with Tyson Kidd. I don't know when that ended, though. That probably ended... Any idea when that ended, Jay?
Fastlane? I think it was Fastlane. I could be wrong.
I thought they had the title at WrestleMania.
You know what? Yeah, they did. They defended it in the pre-show in a great match I've mentioned before. Yeah, they had it at WrestleMania, but they lost it like Extreme Rules or whatever the pay-per-view was after that, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think they didn't lose that Payback. I think it was Extreme Rules because I would have remembered Payback. But yeah, I think they lost the titles at Extreme Rules, but nonetheless, Cesaro and Tyson Kidd had a great tag team duo. And, a lot of people were really pumped about that tag team. Both guys are finally getting a chance. Two of the most underrated, underused stars in the business were finally getting an opportunity to team up together and put on a lot of great performances. And ever since that happened, Cesaro has seemed to be a lot better as an in-ring competitor. Of course, we all know Tyson Kidd went down with a neck injury. Cesaro had to go and be a singles competitor again, and he's doing a very, very good job doing that. He kicked it off with a brief storyline with John Cena. Not really a storyline, but a couple open challenges that he had. He did not win the U.S. title, but he still looked really, really impressive. And lately he's been feuding with Kevin Owens, and now it's looking like he doesn't really have a direction, and that is very similar to what Cesaro has been dealing with the majority of his career, it seems like. They never know really what to do with him. He was a U.S. champion for 9 months, or a long time at least, and nobody really remembers it. So, yeah, Cesaro's number 10. Great in-ring competitor. He's actually okay at promos, not the greatest, but he definitely is good at promos. He was a Paul Heyman guy for a while. That was cool. So, wait, he was Paul? Yeah, he was. For a little bit. But other than that, he has just been really just kind of flying under the radar, and hopefully he does get his chance to shine one year. I think eventually he will. I like to compare his career to somebody like Edge's. When Edge first started, Edge was a singles competitor for a little bit. He went to a tag team, a couple tag teams. He was with Swagger for a little bit too, but and then eventually had his big moment. I don't know if Edge is the best comparison when it comes to their character, but the way they're being built. And Cesaro is one of the strongest guys in WWE, pound for pound. So no doubt will he be somebody in the future. So number 10, Cesaro. Let's get over to number 9. Joe has number 9, and who is it? Joe, do you have any more thoughts on Cesaro as well?
Yeah, at first I was gonna give my extra thoughts on Cesaro, but you were going explaining everything good, so I have no further comments. Yeah, hopefully in upcoming years he'll be up higher on the lists of top 10 superstars. He's really heading in the right direction. Obviously, like you said, right now he's not really in a feud really right now, so we'll see. And yeah, we'll move over to number 9 right here, folks. I have to say that slowly. Um, with someone who has been a champion as well this year, but he's been a singles champion. Kyle and I both decided that at number 9, I was about to call him the Man Beast, but that's Rhino. We're talking, of course, about Ryback, number 9. And, it seems a little low for someone who is the current Intercontinental Champion, but I don't think so. I mean, obviously, Kyle and I both agree that he should be number 9. Um, I think that he's been no, I know we're talking about, like, the whole year, but he's been champion for a while now, so, I'll give my insight on that, and, he's really done a good job as champion. He's been defending it good, even though he went out with a staph infection a few months ago. That was at Battleground. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, and Kyle was not over for that. He was not over my house for Battleground this year, and I wasn't over his last year. But yeah, he was out for a while, but he came back, bounced back from injury, and was stronger than ever, better than ever. And he continues to prove that he's been around for a while, but he continues to prove that he's not slowing down and that he's improving. And I think that he's made great improvements as an overall competitor, not only in the ring, but lately this year, his promos have been really, really good. In the past, they've been cheesy, especially during his bullying gimmick. They were cheesy, funny. At this point, his character right now, I think that he's done some great promos. He's done a good job as a face. I think he's one of the top faces in the company. Obviously he's number 9 on this list, so obviously there are those above him, and of course heels above him right now. But one thing I can't move on and have Kyle talk about number 8 yet, because there's one thing I want to touch on about Ryback, and that is I've noticed lately that he does not get that loud of a crowd reaction, and I don't know if Kyle notices this either, but I have a few examples. Actually, I have one particular example of this, and that was when he, what was the last, SummerSlam, of course, SummerSlam, when he defended his title against Big Show and The Miz. He, of course, won. He retained, and it was an impressive match. Not the best of the night or anything like that. And when he pinned, I believe it was The Miz he pinned. I could be wrong, but when he pinned The Miz and retained his title, he did not get that loud of a crowd reaction. From what I remember watching that, and everybody was just like just standing around. It was a sudden finish from what I remember, and it was just like not really going all together. No momentum was built towards the end, but still, and of course, recently on Raw, I know we should talk about the whole year, but recently on Raw, he not challenged, but it was champion versus champion, him versus Seth Rollins, and he ended up defeating Rollins, even though it was on was it a roll-up pin? I forget, but he ended up beating Rollins, and people weren't the arena wasn't even that loud, And I know I'm taking too much time right now talking about this, but crowd reactions are key. He's gotten them in the past, but lately I just noticed that he hasn't. So, but either way, I think that he's really improved, and people need to see that, and hopefully, like with Cesaro, hopefully in the future he can be up higher on this list. So, Kyle, I know you just grabbed the phone again, so I'll have you go on to talk about who is at number 8 on our top 10 list. Take it away.
Yeah, and I'm just going to touch on a couple things you were saying about Ryback real quick. And Yeah, you're right, because I do remember when Ryback bursted onto the scene in 2012. He was immediately, like, just put in a feud with CM Punk after he had squashed opponents for several months. He was put in a feud with Punk, and I feel like Ryback was really over. And one reason is because of the chant, because that's one thing about WWE. If you have a chant that's easy and like is catchy, you're gonna get reaction. Like just look at Daniel Bryan's yes chant. I feel like anybody could have that chant and still people would say it. So I think the Feed Me More chant was something that was very creative and something. I mean, it wasn't creative, but it was something that worked. I mean, so I feel like he really burst into the scene with that. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I feel like his crowd reaction is okay. He doesn't get booed, but you're right. He doesn't really get cheered as much as he should. For being a guy portrayed as a babyface who is one of you're right, probably a top 5 face in the company, or supposed to be at least. And the Intercontinental Champion really doesn't get as much pop as he really should. And I did notice it at SummerSlam and this past week on Raw. I mean, I'll admit, he did get a reaction, at least from me and at least from a lot of people. But at the same time, for beating the world champion, the U.S. champion, in what was supposed to be an upset victory, he should have got a much bigger reaction, even though the reaction was big, but it should have been bigger. You're right. But nonetheless, you're right about him. I think that, honestly, he might be a little bit higher on the list than we're putting him when it comes down to the end of the year. I mean, and at the same time, you have to blame WWE for maybe poor booking since he's won the championship. Of course, he was out with an injury, but at the same time, he's feuding with Big Show, who's past his prime, and he's feuding with The Miz, who isn't really over either. So maybe the feud might be hurting him a little bit, but at the same time, I think Ryback's in a very, very good position right now and is destined for a big WrestleMania match and a big year going forward. So let's get right into number 7. Number 7, right? Yeah. No, number 8. Number 8. So this one is one that I was a little bit iffy about. I think Joe really wanted him in the top 10. I put him in the top 10 originally, but now I kind of feel like he shouldn't be. But at the same time, he's number 8. He should be, but he shouldn't be. We're going to go with Rusev here, and Rusev is a guy. Let's just take a look at this whole 2015 year. He kicked off January. I believe he was probably in the Royal Rumble match. He didn't win, obviously. Actually, he was he actually got last eliminated by Reigns. I always forget that Rusev was in the final too. But thing is, for Rusev, he went on, and immediately after Rumble, he started his feud with Cena. He beat John Cena at Fastlane by making him pass out. He lost at WrestleMania Extreme Rules and Payback. Which really, that kind of just, like, people are probably thinking, like, then why is he number 8? He lost 3 matches to John Cena in a row. Why is he number 8? Really because the performances in the match really showed what Rusev is. The WrestleMania match wasn't that great. I feel like it wasn't the best match that it should have been. Same situation with Cena's previous WrestleMania match against Wyatt. But I feel like the Extreme Rules bout really showed what Rusev was. It was probably the longest of the 3, and he lost, but I think that was probably out of 3 or the 4 matches that they had. I think that was the match that, even though I don't really count the first match, but I feel like out of the 3 matches, Mania, Extreme Rules, and Payback, I feel like Extreme Rules was the match that I really felt like Rusev was actually going to win. And because I didn't get that feel from WrestleMania, and I really didn't get the feel from Payback. I missed half of the Payback match because I couldn't see. That's a different story. But nonetheless, I feel like Rusev is a guy that has improved, much like Ryback. Really, when he burst onto the scene, he was kind of the same as Ryback. He burst on a big threat. Instead, he was a heel. And he, of course, has turned in. And of course, he's still a heel, but he's turned into more of a guy that just is well known for his in-ring work more, and after Payback, he started a mini feud with Lana. He then went down with an injury for a little bit. He returned and has since been putting on a great feud with Dolph Ziggler. Man, the year goes by quick. I mean, that injury really took a big chunk of the year out, and nonetheless, Rusev is a guy that I feel like is on this list. Solely has nothing to do with his win-loss record. It has a lot to do with improvement, and Rusev, obviously, his character is a bit different now. Rusev isn't as much anti-American, even though he is. I mean, he's like all for Bulgaria now, but ever since Lana is not with him anymore, he feels more like he's a kind of just a heel. He's kind of like not really like mad at America anymore. He's just mad at Lana for turning on him. And some are saying that this feud is terrible. At the same time, you have to look at the two guys, and they're probably two of the best workers in WWE. Rusev is an improvement each week, and he's solely on this list because I know and Joe knows that he's going to keep improving every single week, every month, and every year. So I expect this guy to be world champion one day, but we'll just have to see what WWE does with him and where they lead him to the final couple months of the year and following. So that's my opinion on Rusev. I like the guy, and I feel like he's going to be something in WWE one day, and he already is something. So we'll see how he improves. And there you have it, Joe. Get into the number 7 and say whatever you want about Rusev.
Yeah, just like last time, I agreed with everything you're saying, and many would argue that he hasn't won a championship this year. So it's like, why is Ryback below him? But I just really feel like, and
he was a champion for 4 months. So.
Wait, this year?
Yeah, Rusev lost the title at WrestleMania.
Oh, crap. I forgot all about that. I was thinking about, never mind. Just forget it. Yeah, you're right. He was. My bad. And, he really has been more over than the likes of, Ryback. Maybe not Cesaro. There's the argument there. Lately Cesaro's been really on a roll, and Rusev has been consistently on a roll all year long. So, I think that's a good spot for him. And, yeah, so I'm going to head on over to the number 7 spot, a man that everyone knows well. That's a good introduction, and that is the Eater of Worlds, not Eater of Worms, the Eater of Worlds, Bray Wyatt. He's burst on the scene back in 2013. It was 2013, right? Yeah, I believe so.
Hasn't won a championship.
Yeah, he hasn't. You're right. And that's really unfortunate. You'd think they'd give him at least a mid-card title, at least a tag team title, at least a Divas title. I don't know. Whatever. Give him a championship.
Divas title?
What?
Divas title. I think that would be better suited for Braun Strowman.
Indeed. He looks like Muscle Man. But anyway, or Pops. And, anyway, yeah, Bray Wyatt. He deserves this spot because ever since bursting onto the scene, he's always been over with the crowd in some sort of way. At first people were just kind of like, okay, another weird guy gimmick, we get it, WWE. And after a while, people started to get it. People started to understand that, his character, and people started to love it, and in my opinion, I'm going to go on the record right here and say this. I think that out of anyone in WWE right now, I don't know about the whole wrestling world because I don't follow every single indie promotion or anything like that, but in WWE, I think that Bray Wyatt has the best gimmick in the whole company, and many would argue with me, but many would agree with me, and those people are cool. And I just really believe it. I think that like I said, he's been over. People have, flashed their cell phones every single week around the arena for him. I know WWE's like, oh, turn on your flashlights your lights if you've ever been to a live show. But still, people do it because Bray Wyatt's the man, and he's, I wish I could say more about him. He needs a championship. He really does need one. Whether that be the world title, or United States, or Intercontinental, or Divas, or NXT Women's, or NXT title, or whatever, man. Just give him something. And, he's obviously been a part of the Wyatt family, the new Wyatt family right now, like we mentioned before. And, whatever role he's in, I think that he's done a great job, especially with his character. Kyle and I have talked about this before. Bray Wyatt can get away with saying absolutely anything in a promo that is weird. If I were to tell you that, I don't know, Kyle's better at coming up with examples than me. If I were to say a weird sentence, like, it would just sound weird, but with Bray Wyatt's voice and the way he looks at his characters, everything about him, he pulls it off, and he just...
You're right.
He mixes up a bunch of weird sentences, and it works. If I were to say it, you'd put me in a mental institution, but look at Bray Wyatt. He looks badass when he does it, and that's why he's over. It just works. Little things like that. It gets people over, and it gets him at the number 7 spot. Yeah. So, well deserving, and hopefully, like the rest of the people on this list, higher up one day. Hopefully number 1 next year, but who knows. So, Kyle, I'm going to head over to you. Not physically, but give me your not yours, but our number 6 on this list. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and you're right about Bray Wyatt. He had a great year. Facing The Undertaker at WrestleMania was definitely a big accolade to his year. That's definitely a reason he's on the list. And you're right, he's one of the best promo guys in the WWE. He never stumbles. He never messes up. He can say whatever he wants, and people, I swear, like, people cheer for him. He said the goofiest stuff out there. Half the time, I honestly tell you the cold hard truth. I don't understand what he's saying. I listen to his promos, but I try to get into it, and he makes a lot of references. He had a feud with Ryback, actually, this year, right? Or was that last year? I don't know. That was this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that we forgot to mention. Bray Wyatt and Ryback were a pretty good, mini feud. I think Bray Wyatt ended up winning, though. But nonetheless, you're right. Bray Wyatt's great, and hopefully a championship. I would think something like the Intercontinental belt would be good for him, or United States at first, or maybe put him in the tag team. I don't know. But, yeah, Bray Wyatt's definitely deserving, and, that definitely improved. All these guys have improved. So, let's get over Dean Ambrose, number 6. I was going to kind of do a fun intro for him. I was going to be like, all right, but Dean Ambrose is our number 6. And what's the reason? A bunch of things. 1, he's one of the best promo guys in the WWE. 2, he's over. He's probably the most popular guy in the WWE, with the exception of a couple. Number 3, he's a great in-ring competitor. And number 4, he's been involved in some solid feuds. Dean Ambrose's year kicked off in January. I believe he was in the Royal Rumble, and yeah, he was. And he really hasn't done all that much this year when it comes to the main event scene. Actually, somewhat has. So, let's kick off with January. He was, of course, in the Royal Rumble, and he did not win. But leading up to WrestleMania, Dean Ambrose, of course, was involved in a feud with Bad News Bear. He eventually was in the ladder match at WrestleMania. Some people thought he should have won. He did not win. And ever since WrestleMania, he was involved in a great feud with Seth Rollins. They kind of reignited the feud with Seth Rollins, and it was probably better than the one last year when it comes to in-ring performances. He, of course, was involved in the Payback Fatal 4-Way match, came up short, and the phenomenal bout that they had at Money in the Bank. Nobody can get over that, how that match was. Probably could be match of the year between them two. Great storytelling. He, of course, stole the WWE Championship at one point. That was at Battleground? No. That was at Elimination Chamber that he stole the belt?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because he felt like he won. He did win. He pinned him for the victory, but then they said that he won by interference or something. But so that was great. He finally got a taste of the WWE title, finally got a taste of the main event scene. And unfortunately, everybody knew that this was a basic filler feud for Seth Rollins going against Lesnar, so that was a shame. But Dean Ambrose really went in there and he knew what he was doing, and that's something about Dean Ambrose the past couple years. Ever since he broke off the Wyatt family, Ambrose has definitely reemerged to the scene. He's like a lot of people say that he's probably the least. I don't know. I don't want to say used. Yeah, probably the least used and the least successful of the 3 Shield members since the breakup, which is probably true. Roman Reigns won the Royal Rumble, and Seth Rollins is right now the WWE Champion and the United States Champion. And Ambrose is kind of just a guy who has been in mid-card feuds, and he's kind of a guy who battled with Rollins for a while for the belt, never won it, and he's kind of been the guy who has now is kind of teaming up with Reigns to take out the Wyatts, and that's a great feud as well. And so Ambrose has not been the guy who's really been the main guy, main eventer, but I know wholeheartedly that he will be. Honestly, I expected him to be the first world champion of the three. I think that was my prediction a while ago that Dean Ambrose, when the Shield does break up, he's going to be the guy that's going to win the world title belt first. And at this point, he probably is going to be the last. So, number 6 is very deserving. I think that by next year he's going to be in the top 5. I think he probably should have deserved to be in the top 5, but we left him out because there's 5 great guys coming up, and Joe is going to start it off at number 5. So, go ahead. Let's get this top 5 going.
Yeah, top 5. Here we go. Here's a guy who I originally put as my number 2 on my personal list, but then Kyle told me I was crazy, and I soon saw how I was crazy. This guy is deserving of top 5. I just think that this guy has made a huge, huge impact in the short time that he's been on the main roster. You know, it's sad in a way that he is above some of the names who are in 6 through 10, and he's only been here for a few months, just like he said in a promo about a month ago, and that's, of course, Kevin Owens, number 5. I just am a huge fan of his. I mean, who isn't at this point? Who isn't a fan of Kevin Owens? You have to like something about him. I mean, his promo skills, his in-ring ability, his overall attitude, how in character he is at all times. I just think that he really does a great job, and I just really think he has that old school wrestling kind of feel to him. I just think that he has the character, and it's so realistic, and you think, you know, that's him. You know, he's a badass. He, you know, doesn't give a crap about anyone, and I just really am a huge fan of his, Kevin Owens, and I mean, he hasn't won a championship yet on the main roster. Of course, he is a former NXT champion before Finn Balor beat him at WWE Live in Tokyo back on July 4th. And, you know, just to give you some NXT news, I know this is all relating to the main roster. Of course, Balor defeated Owens at the last Takeover event a few weeks ago. And, you know, but main roster...
You love me. It's that...
But on the main roster, Owens has done a great job overall. Of course, beating John Cena, the top guy in the company. The top guy in the company for years. He beat him in his first match. And, thank you, Kyle, for that. Really is a great thing for him. It really got his career started. I mean, I remember when that happened. He beat Cena, he pinned him, and I remember just, like, marking out, and it was just a great moment. It was like he beat him clean in his first match. It was just kind of like, back when the Big Show, back then known as the Giant, beat Hulk Hogan in his first match back in WCW. It was very similar to that, except Owens, it really wasn't expected, because he was just called up, and he was just looked at as this jerk who just wanted to take out the top guy, but beat him, and since then, he's been on a roll. Of course, lately, he has been in a little less important feuds. I mean, his feud with Cesaro was important, but, I mean, it's less important than with the top guy in the company. And, I just, you know, I really look forward to see what feuds he comes into play for him soon. Of course, right now, it looks like he's about to have a title feud with Ryback for the Intercontinental Championship right now. It's looking that way, and I look forward to that. I really do, and I think number 5 is well deserving for him. So, Kyle, I'm going to hand this one over to you, unless you have any comments first, but number 4, I'll let you talk whenever you want. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I agree about Kevin Owens. A great breakout year. He's definitely the breakout star of the year. I don't think that can be argued. Since his debut against John Cena, immediately putting him into a feud with John Cena is phenomenal. He won his first match. Yeah, he lost the last 2, but I expect this guy to be something. And he's different. You know, that's one thing I like about him. He's different. He's not your typical WWE superstar. You know, he's not big and strong. Well, I mean, he's a strong guy, but he's not like, you know, Randy Orton, for example. No disrespect to Orton, but he's not like, you know, ripped. He's not like fast, stuff like that. I mean, he's very agile. He's very good, but he just doesn't have the typical body of a superstar, and that's fine. That's what makes him great. And he's very good. He's very, very, very good at promos, too. Okay, so number 4, it's the guy that a lot of people is like, is he really going to be on the list? You know, he's a part-timer, but hey, he was WWE champion for a while, Brock Lesnar. And, yeah, this was a tough one. Joe originally had him very low. I had him number 2 originally, and Joe had him number 10. But, so what happened? We ended up putting him number 4. I found it very, very difficult to leave Brock Lesnar out of the top 5 simply because of his WWE title reign. I feel like if you're WWE champion for at least some part of the year, you have to be up in the top 5. And he was WWE champion for a good long time. He won it at SummerSlam of last year, and he held it all the way up to WrestleMania. So, and some can say his title reign was a bit mediocre. Really, all he did in the title reign was he beat John Cena at SummerSlam. He retained against John Cena at Night of Champions. He took a month off. He then ended up defending it against Seth Rollins and John Cena at Royal Rumble, which I think is going to be the match of the year. He took a break at Fastlane, and then he eventually lost at WrestleMania. So he really only had 2 successful title defenses. Is that true?
Yeah, 3, 2 or 3. Yeah.
I guess 2, because he only had it against Cena at Night of Champions, which was a DQ win, and then a Royal Rumble.
So, oh yeah.
Unless I'm missing it, but yeah, I think that's right. But you know, I mean, I was about to say I'm a big Brock Lesnar fan. I'm not. I'm not gonna say he's my favorite, but at the same time, I don't hate him. I like him over a lot of other guys, but at the same time, people are gonna say he obviously does not deserve to be, you know, so hyped up and so popular and so, you know, high ranked. But at the same time, like, look at Battleground. I mean, no disrespect to a pay-per-view like that. It's not going to be WWE's most popular pay-per-view. It's probably going to be a lower class pay-per-view. You know, they add Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins. You know, people are going to be like, Battleground's a must-watch event. You know, Brock Lesnar is a name that people are going to remember. You know, people are going to know. You know, I mean, in all truthness, I mean, people are going to know Brock Lesnar over Seth Rollins. People are going to know Brock Lesnar over Sheamus. People are going to know Brock Lesnar over Kevin Owens. You know, regardless of what Brock Lesnar is doing or regardless of how long Brock Lesnar wrestles, he's over. He's actually, this was probably his most popular year. I've said that to Joe since he joined the WWE. 2012, he had just returned. 2013, 2014, he broke the streak. I think 2015 is the year that he actually got over. You know, Suplex City was like all like a big thing, and then I even mentioned, you know, he had the big feud with The Undertaker, which kind of, you know, is a downer that they have not talked about it at all since SummerSlam. But still, he had a great feud with Undertaker, and the rematch of the century. So no doubt is Brock Lesnar a top 5 WWE superstar this year. I don't know what's next for the Beast. I don't think Joe knows. I don't really think anybody knows at this point. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But definitely don't be surprised if they put the WWE title back on him or put him in the picture again, because he never did lose to Seth Rollins. But so we'll see what happens with Brock. Number 4 is definitely deserving. I mean, he could be lower. I do agree. But at the same time, we can make a case that he should be higher. So there you have it, Brock Lesnar, number 4. Any thoughts on Brock Lesnar? But get into number 3 as well.
Yeah, everything you're saying, great, grand, wonderful, and I just, you know, if you ask me.
Plus, he main evented WrestleMania, so that's something else I forgot to mention.
Yeah, absolutely, and if you ask me, he's never never lost to The Undertaker, and because at SummerSlam, #Taker tapped. If you ask me, that was a big controversial thing. Some people hated that finish, but whatever. We're not talking about all that right now. Everything you're saying was great, so now we gotta move on. People are starting to get bored, but don't worry. We got the top 3. Stick around, folks. We got this next person is one of, if not the most. I don't know if he's the most, but one of the most hated like hated superstars on the roster, and he has been treated badly by fans. And I've said all the way since January when this really started getting kicked off. I remember talking about the Royal Rumble. We were talking about hashtag canceled WWE Network, and we were talking about the canceled Raw, all in one video. Remember in January? Go back and watch that if you'd like, if you have all the time in the world. And um, I just remember going on a rant about how people were pissed about. Yeah, this guy's Roman Reigns, by the way. I didn't even say his name yet. Winning the Royal Rumble this year, that pissed a lot of people off. And go back to that video if you want to hear the full rant. I'm gonna make it short here, but yeah, I don't think he's deserving of. He doesn't deserve all this criticism. Well, criticism, yeah. I mean, he's in a spotlight, so people can criticize him. But all this like personal hatred that people have, I will never understand. Um, and I just think that he's made a good impact on WWE. He's really always everybody's saying he's like the next John Cena. They're like, that's bad. I mean, why is that bad? If you think about it, um, I was about to say Hogan was the next San Martino, if you want to make that comparison at all. But I mean, he took that to a new level, and then it ended up being The Rock was the new Hogan, and then Austin was
That's
the
arguable.
yeah, and then Austin was the new Hogan or new Rock, whatever you want to say. And then it led to Cena along the way. And then it's a lot of people are saying this is leading to Roman Reigns being a top star. He's going to be world champion. He's going to be known as one of the best of all time, most popular. And I don't get why people are so hate that so much. The company needs top stars, and when the thing I know I'm trying to make this short as possible, but the thing that gets me is that the average fan, the average person at IWC is going to say, oh, push young talent, we want to see some of the guys from NXT get called up and get pushed and win titles and watch their career play out. And then you got a guy like Roman Reigns who came up from there along with his Shield brethren back in 2012, late 2012, right? And since then, I mean, him along with the rest of the Shield were very popular, very over, and then it seemed like once Roman Reigns went out on his own, people were just like, we hate you. And I've never understood that, and he was getting pushed and pushed, and people were like, no, no. And it's like, you're asking for young talent to get pushed, and they're pushing someone who is deserving of it. I don't know if he's deserving of it, but it's young talent, and people don't like it that much, but I just think that he's done a good job. I think that he's been in some important rivalries in the past. Obviously this year the most. He's number 3. He won the Royal Rumble. He went on to challenge Lesnar at Mania. He, of course, lost that technically to the current champion Seth Rollins in that match, but still, I think that he's made a good impact on WWE this year. And one day, I don't know. I mean, number 3 already for him is great. And if he's there next year, that will make him very consistent. And look forward to seeing what he is next year. But overall, good impact. So that's all for that one. But Kyle, you have someone who I mentioned recently.
You can do number 2.
What?
You can do number 2. I want to do number 1.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
You're just gonna change it up on me like that? How you gonna play me like that, homie? Okay, whatever. I'll do it. I'm not gonna argue. Because we're killing time right now. You got number 2. I have no problem doing this. A man who I mentioned before during number 3. Number 2, gotta go with the tops. I don't know about.
And his name is John Cena.
Thank you. Those vines get me every time. They're great. John Cena. So yeah, number 2, John Cena, been top star since 2000. Well, he hasn't been top since then, but he's been top star for years. And people, he's also one of the most hated wrestlers in the world, and he's also one of the most popular. just like Roman Reigns. And main reason that he is number 2. He shows up for work every single night. Well, I mean, obviously he'll take one break like every now and then, but still, he shows up to work every single day. As my boy Big Smo would say in the soundtrack for 2K15, he's the first to clock in and the last to leave, and he's never had a problem rolling up his sleeve. And he really has done a good job about that. He's been very consistent, showing up, and, obviously people are going to say, oh, he brings out the golden shovel and buries people. Oh, cut it out. And, but enough with that. I've already ranted enough, and people are asleep. But, he's just continued to carry the company, been the top draw. I think that he's the top draw in the company right now, if you ask me. Even though he's not world champion, I just think that he's the top draw right now, and there's no denying that. Obviously he has a lot of kid fans, and people are going to joke about that, but still, he's a top draw. And if you see John Cena's on a card, he's that helps you make your decision if you're going to get a ticket or if you're going to turn on the pay-per-view on the network or whatever. And that's another thing. He's always in a big match. Even though right now he's not the United States champion anymore, but he's in a mid-card title feud with the world champion, which is kind of weird. It takes all the mid-card credibility away from it, but still, he's still showing up, and he's still in big feuds, big rivalries, big matches, as JBL calls him, Big Match John, and not to be confused with John Laurinaitis, and he just really helps carry the company, and that's why he's number 2. So I'll have to hand this one over to Kyle, who is dying to do number 1. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, no, I just repeat what you basically said. Having Roman Reigns and John Cena, 2 guys that are 2 top faces of the company, both guys are great. John Cena, I can say for days and days and days all the shit I hate about John Cena and all the things I don't agree about John Cena, but at the end of the day, you're right. He's one of the hardest working guys in the company, and he just deserves to be there every year until he retires or goes part-time or whatever. And then same thing with Reigns. Similar things with Reigns. I actually don't mind Reigns that much. I just think that, for me, it's just compared to his 2 other Shield buddies that he used to be in, that's why I really look at Reigns as kind of like I love Ambrose so much, and I love the other guy so much, Rollins so much, that I just give shit to Reigns because I don't want to love all 3 of them so much. You know what I mean? So nothing against Roman Reigns. It's just he was pushed to the moon really early, and people are like, oh, he was pushed so early. Well, first of all, he didn't even win a WWE title yet. So how is he being pushed? He's been in the company for so long now, or it feels like a couple years now, and he still hasn't won a title. So I mean, he's only won a tag title. So I mean, yeah, he's won the Royal Rumble, but other than that, I mean, he had his moments. But so other than that, number 1, let's get right into it. Who it is? It's the current WWE champion and the current United States champion, Seth Rollins. I mean, who else would be the number 1? I mean, Connor. Me and Joe were arguing for a while. He wanted it to be Connor, and I was like, no, it has to be Seth Rollins. But he was like, all right, I'm not doing the video if it's Connor. If it's not Connor. I was like, if you don't do the video, I'm quitting. And he was like, fine. So we agreed that it was Seth Rollins. Why not? He's the WWE champion. He's the United States champion. He made the biggest impact ever by cashing in at WrestleMania. And what he said on Raw, nobody else had the guts to cash in at WrestleMania but him. And it's true. Over the past 10 years that 10 years that the Money in the Bank has been around, nobody did it. Nobody even attempted to cash in at WrestleMania until this year. I mean, Seth Rollins did it, and he did it in the WrestleMania main event after putting on a stellar match against Randy Orton. And you know what the funny thing is? Everybody remembers the match, but nobody cares who won that match. Nobody cares that Randy Orton won. I mean, Seth Rollins ended up being the champion. Then he raced his loss against him, and then hell, he ended up beating Randy Orton the next month to retain the title. And you know who else he beat this year? Brock Lesnar. You know who else he beat this year? Roman Reigns. You know who else he beat? I don't know.
John Cena.
You know who he's gonna beat? Sting. You know who else he beat? John Cena. So it's something about him that has just screams excellence. So he's the guy now, and nobody can decline that. And he has to be the hardest working guy in the company. And he's definitely my favorite wrestler. Not because he's the champion. I was a big fan of Rollins, his big heel run with the Authority before that. So, I mean, he's the guy right now. There's nothing that anybody can say to me that will say that he's not. He's won multiple championships. He beat John Cena. He beat Roman Reigns. He's going to beat Sting. He beat Brock Lesnar. He beat Randy Orton, Dean Ambrose. He's done everything. So, there you go. I have so much more to say about Seth Rollins, but that's all I have to say for now. We'll definitely talk more about Rollins coming in for every single video Seth Rollins will be mentioned. I mean, because he's the face of the WWE. So, Joe, close it out for us when it comes to Rollins, and then we have a couple honorable mentions of guys that were not in the top 10 that we felt like deserved to be there, but we just slipped out of the list. So, Joe, final thoughts about Seth Rollins, and then we'll talk about honorable mentions.
All right. Final thoughts about Seth Rollins. Obviously, like you said, very well deserving number one. Both of us both had him number one, and it was no question about it. Just how great he's been as a champion. And hold up one second. As I was saying, yeah, he's done a great job as champion so far. Seth Rollins has, and no questions asked. He's number one. Best in the company right now, and done a great job as champion, and will continue to when he beats Sting at Night of Champions. So now we get to honorable mentions, and then we close it out, and people hit those subscribe buttons if they haven't already. So who do you want to start? I'll let you, Kyle, start out the honorable mentions.
Well, just to get them all done, kill five birds in one stone. We'll name them all.
Yeah.
And then I'll just say all my thoughts about them, and then you will. I mean, we're not going to say much about them. They're not in the top 10. All right. The first honorable mention is Kane. The first honorable mention is Mr. Money in the Bank. Is Mr. Money in the Bank Sheamus. Now, he was a tough one to leave off the list, but a real reason I left Sheamus off the list is because he missed a good amount of the year with the injury. He didn't compete at WrestleMania, and he hasn't really had that big main event feud yet that a lot of these guys have had. So, one reason I left Sheamus off the list. He'll definitely probably be in the top 10 next year because he'll be involved in the championship scene because he is, of course, Mr. Money in the Bank. Next up, Randy Orton. Randy Orton, who missed the beginning of the year with an injury, ended up returning at Fastlane, feuded with Seth Rollins, of course, beat Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, and then has been involved in feuds, but at the same time, he's not having the best year that he's had, obviously, but he hasn't won a championship this year. But, Randy Orton is as good as ever, and we expect him to continue to be one of the best in WWE, even though he's not in the top 10. He's still over. He's still a good face. So that's our thoughts on Randy Orton, or my thoughts on Randy Orton. Dolph Ziggler, a guy that has not won a championship this year, but had a great November last year. Remember when he led Team Cena to victory? But this year it's kind of been a lay-low year for Ziggler. He's having a good feud with Rusev right now. He's just been the great mid-carder that we expect him to be, and we hope that he sticks around in WWE. Hope that he resigns. Hope that he continues to be the solid mid-carder that he is, and hopes that one day he gets up to the main event scene. Next up, we got Neville. Neville, the guy who bursted onto the scene this year, has since competed against Seth Rollins for the WWE title, nearly won Money in the Bank, and tag teamed with Stephen Amell to defeat Stardust and Bad News Barrett. Speaking of Bad News Barrett, he is the final honorable mention. Bad News Barrett was actually Intercontinental Champion for 4 months this year until WrestleMania, and what's some people are calling a horrible championship reign simply because he lost so many non-title matches. Barrett was a guy who really was never given much respect. He never really won many matches when he was champion, like I said, and he ended up losing the belt. He, of course, eventually got his rematch in an Elimination Chamber match that he, of course, lost. That was won by Ryback, and since that, Wade Barrett has won the King of the Ring. Ever since he won the King of the Ring, he was in a meaningless feud with R-Truth, and then ended up being in a tag team with Stardust, and he ended up losing. Since then, he is now off TV, and it is unclear what the future of King Barrett is, but do expect him to hopefully improve and hopefully have a main event feud. So there you have it, Joe. What are your thoughts on all 5 of these guys, briefly, please?
Yeah, everything you said, and I'm gonna go in the same order, Seamus. You know, Mr. Money in the Bank. Hopefully next year, I'm predicting right now that next year when we make this, well, I mean maybe at the end of the year this year we'll make another one, um, for the whole year. But next year I'm gonna predict that he's gonna be in the top 10. Not only in the top 10, but I think he's gonna be, I don't know, top 6, top 8, somewhere around there. Maybe top 5, top 3. Who knows? I think that, especially if he wins the championship, which I don't know. I'm not going to make any predictions. Next up, I believe you said Randy Orton, and those two have been feuding lately, and he's just been recently written off TV apparently. So, but still, this year he's made a big impact as he always has. Weird having Orton not be in the top 10, but I mean, this year hasn't really been a Randy Orton year, and you know he's still gotten really over. He's really over, especially recently because of the popular vines of him. Non-wrestling fans know who he is, know what the RKO is, just because of those hilarious vines. So that's why he's an honorable mention, and who knows, maybe he'll be higher up next year or at the end of this year. And then you got Dolph Ziggler, always been a great mid-card guy. He's always stuck around, and like Kyle said, hopefully he sticks around till the end of his career. We don't want to see him go. He's a vital part of the mid-card scene, and has himself a good rivalry with Rusev, minus all the like Summer Rae drama, which makes me want to turn on Monday Nitro. And then you got Neville, who has really, I mean, he's made himself a big impact since coming up from NXT, but not a huge one. He hasn't really made a significant one, but I think that he's really gotten over. He's really shown his high-flying ability, and people love it. They love seeing the red arrow. They all stand up when he goes on the top rope. They all have their cameras out. It's a big moment, and he's going to continue to bring big moments for the years to come, hopefully. And last, like you said, Bad News Barrett, of course, Intercontinental Champion for what, 4 months, you said? And really, probably the worst King of the Ring winner. Not like him personally, the worst winner, but he's had the worst, like, King of the Ring reign. I mean, the writers are drunk when they write his storylines. He feuded with R-Truth, Rizzle, for a while. Remember that? Me neither. And he's gonna have one of the most non-memorable King of the Ring reigns, I guess, is what you want to call it. Roman Reigns. And, I mean, we'll remember it because it's probably going to be, who knows, not even be a King of the Ring next year or the year after that. Who knows? But he hasn't done a good job like we thought he would. But still, he's always been around, and he's still been very popular and over, and he has, well, had one of my favorite gimmicks with the Bad News, but now he's King Barrett, and now Stu Bennett. So, that concludes it. So, shall we close it, Kyle?
Yeah, definitely.
All
That's
right.
all we have to say, guys. We named our top 10, and I'm just going to kick it off with the plugs right now. We got to get out of here. But, yeah, well, as Joe would say, thank you all for watching. And this was an AEW production. We hope that you enjoyed our top 10 list, and we hope that you made it this far. We understand if you don't, but at least, watch a good amount of it. If you're like just chose to skip to the end to see it whenever it was over. But nonetheless, if you did make it this far, thank you. This is a video that me and Joe have wanted to do for a while. Typically like to do it around halfway through the year just to give our in-depth analysis of what we got going in WWE. You know, who is the top 10 superstars? And you know what? Hell with it. If you want to name your top 10 superstars in the comment section below. Like the video if you agree with our list. Hell, even like it if you don't agree with our list. Just do whatever you want. Yeah, like I said, comment and go ahead and give me a follow on Twitter at CosmosAEW for all your non-tweeting. If you like somebody who doesn't tweet. But you know what? If you want to tweet to me and say, Kyle, what the hell? Why you like Seth Rollins so much? I'll be like, because I like him. Just, whatever we have to communicate. Same situation over there with Joe. Go ahead and follow him on Twitter as well. He'll tell you about that in just a second. And like I said, like the video, subscribe, of course. And don't forget to check out all of our other past videos. And like I said, in previous videos, we're going to be continuing to put out some more content. We were really happy to be able to get this video out as a non-pay-per-view prediction video, and we're probably going to continue to do some videos maybe this weekend. So look, subscribe, look ahead to that, and if there's a little one next to our name on your subscription, that means a new video is out. So go ahead and click our name, click the video, watch it for a little bit, multitask, do whatever you want. We're not that bad. Joe, my plugs were really long this week. Why don't you tell us yours, and tell us about that great Twitter account that you have that's trying to get up to 100 followers.
Yeah, the road to 100. I know it's pretty sad, isn't it? No, I'm just kidding, guys. I appreciate all my followers. Hope you follow me at officialaw on Twitter for all your tweeting needs that will annoy you, and I make a lot of sarcastic jokes. And no, I really love all my followers. Hope you join me there. And Kyle really put me on the spot with my Twitter almost as badly as he did when we met Matt Hardy, and he was like, "Ooh, hey, do you guys have a Twitter?" And Kyle was like, "Oh yeah, Joe, tell them all about that." And it was we had like 5 seconds before the next people online could meet him. But so follow me there and hit the subscribe button down below and hit that like button. And comment below, just like Kyle said, we got to get out of here. You guys are asleep. I'm about to go to sleep after this, actually. And, so thank you all for watching. Really do appreciate it. Sorry that Connor and Victor did not make the top 2. It's just that we couldn't decide who was better, so we just left them out, you know? And, the Great Khali, didn't make it this year, so, oof. So, thank you all for watching. And until next time, this is AEW.